Having arrived at Soronsberg at the end of Stage 2, the Absa Cape Epic teams were treated to a spectacular morning in the Tilbach Valley. Encircled by high mountains, the region is renowned for award-winning wines and spectacular mountain biking trails. The precipitous peaks surrounding the town hint at the fact that the race will feature strenuous climbs on Stage 3. Before focusing on the day ahead, a recap of the preceding stage is necessary though. On Stage 2, the race traversed the Ceres Valley, ascended the Old Gedo Pass and crossed the Witzenberg range to Soronsberg. In the men's race, there were late fireworks as Canyon Northwave MTB split a select group on the final climb before 91 Songo Specialized dropped Andreas Seewald and Martin Stosek on the Old Wagon Trail descent. This set Matt Beers and Jordan Suru up for their second stage victory of the race. Canyon Northwave crossed the line in second, followed by the Stage 1 winners Urs Huber and Simon Schneller of Team Bulls. Beers and Saru's stage win allowed them to extend their general classification lead to 2 minutes and 13 seconds over Seewald and Stosek. Bulls 2 struggled on Stage 2, losing time, which allowed Huber and Schneller to move into third, ahead of their stablemates Martin Fry and Simon Stiebjan. In the women's race, the first 3 stages produced only one team of stage winners. 91 Songo Specialized backed up their prologue and Stage 1 victories with another commanding display on Stage 2. Sina Fry and Laura Stigger exercised great patience for the first half of the race, allowing their rivals to set a steady, if not spectacular, tempo. Then on the final climb, the women in orange made their move. The pair attacked the ascent of the Witzenberg Mountains and summited solo. On the Old Wagon Trail descent, they extended their lead to take line honours by 1 minute and 2 seconds. Ariane Luthi and Robin de Groot of Team Salusmed were second and Faces CST third on the day. Their 3-stage wins thus far give 91 Songo Specialized a 7 minute and 32 second advantage over Team Salusmed in second. Fry and Stigger's lead to the women in third was a staggering 18 minutes and 10 seconds. Stage 3 features a circuit through the trails of Tilbach. Starting and finishing at Soronsberg, it takes in 91 kilometers with 2,100 meters of climbing. Unusually in the Absa Cape Epic, it features a Dimension Data hotspot sprint. Rather than a king and a queen of the mountain, the 15,000 Rand prize was awarded on the main road of Tilbach. Thereafter, there were single tracks aplenty and a terrifyingly steep climb, Fanti's Pass. The Land Rover technical terrain came late in the stage on the Asachai Boss single track. The final 10 kilometers back to Soronsberg was mercifully all downhill. Ahead of another tough day, the men were bullish about the stage to come.
Yeah, I think we will definitely play a little bit smarter, and then if the opportunity arises again, we'll definitely take it. But yeah, I think it's time we need to look at the long road now.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. It all depends on the legs today. We'll make the call quite early probably, but yeah, if we can stay in the front group and come to the line of the first guys, it would be incredible for us today.
Departing from Soronsberg for Stage 3, the men appeared eager to get the day underway. Another morning of crystal clear skies warned of a blisteringly hot afternoon. Getting the racing done while the temperatures were cooler was clearly the idea on the minds of the main protagonists. With 91 Songo Specialized having firmed up their grip on the yellow jerseys the day before, it would take fireworks from the likes of Canyon Northwave, Team Bulls, Trek Pirelli or Buff Scott to blow the race apart. Having started the day nearly 13 minutes back, Page Eurosteel were not among the teams the leaders were overly concerned about. Meanwhile, the women were preparing for Stage 3.
So we are about 7.5 minutes off first place, which is the Songo Specialized ladies or women, and obviously we want to gain time if possible. We're just gonna see how the day unfolds. We've obviously got a few game plans, but you never know how it all pans out, and we just have to adapt and overcome, I guess.
Rolling off the start line, the women's field set out at a steady pace. As on the previous stages, a standoff developed in the opening kilometres with nobody intent on taking charge of the pacemaking duties. This played into the hands of the orange jersey wearers, who were content to sit on and let the opening kilometres tick by gradually. Their rivals for the overall competition, Team Salusmed, Faces CST and Computer Mania, would have to up the pace if they were to put 91 Songo Specialized on the back foot. Stage 3 had to be the day when the chasers made their move. All the opportunities to force a change of lead could pass them by. Among the men, the race leaders were the ones to take up the early pacemaking responsibility. Rather than let the speed dip and allow for repeated opportunistic attacks, Matt Beers and Jordan Saru chose to set an even tempo. They were well aware that the Fanties pass climb late in the stage would suit their rivals better than it did them. As a result, 91 Songo Specialized would have to keep Canyon Northwave and company on a tight leash. Paga Eurosteel was, however, a different matter. The red Absa African jersey wearers were little risk to the overall leaders and were thus allowed to take over at the front. Meanwhile, there was disaster further down the field. Estonia's Peter Prus of Pure Encapsulations destroyed his rear wheel crossing a rut in the dual track. This left the team walking towards water point 1.
It was on downhill. I just jumped and my wheel exploded. And I don't know, we had a good feeling. We were in the front with the first one, top 6, top 7. And yeah, I don't know what to do now. Just first time here. Yeah, what to do? I don't know. Nothing to say.
While Bruce and Manuel Plim considered their options, Philip Bass and Peter de Toy went on the attack. With nobody particularly willing to chase Paga Eurosteel 2 down, they rapidly established an advantage of nearly a minute. In the main group behind, the fact that Bass and de Toy were odds-on favourites to win the Dimension Data Hotspot prize was apparently no cause for concern. They were content rather to keep the break at a manageable distance, just flitting in and out of sight as the route twisted and turned through the Renosterveld Fynbos on the outskirts of Tilbach. Crossing one of the 50 purpose-built mountain bike bridges on the stage, the leaders raced onto the main road of Tilbach, had a moment or two to wolf down a gel and take a sip of their hydration mix before claiming the Dimension Data Hotspot prize. Behind Paga Eurosteel 2, the overall race leaders dragged a reduced peloton across the Dimension Data hotspot point. With climbing and single track to come, that would be the last moment of respite until they crossed the finish line some 3 hours later. In the women's race, the undulating gravel roads did little to spur the group into action. They were content to roll through, taking brief turns on the front as Computer Mania's Adelaide Morath did the bulk of the pace setting. With the speed not being particularly taxing, the women had the opportunity to take in the beautiful surroundings. Though that and the tightly bunched group proved catastrophic. On a descent through the vineyards, Mariska Strauss went down in a cloud of dust. Her fall brought Face's CST teammate Candice Lil and Computer Mania's Cherie Redeker down with her. Strauss and Lil were unhurt, but Redeker's handlebars were twisted in the collision. While the Face's CST pair were able to get back underway quickly, Redeker was forced to realign her bars before setting off. Strauss and Lil were joined in their chase by Galileo Infinity Spot's Teresa Ralph. The trio made it back in time to contest the Dimension Data Hotspot Sprint, but they and the rest of the women's field had no answer for the ferocious 91 Songo Specialized team. The women in orange picked up their second 15,000 Rand spot prize of the race. Back with the men's race, and the solo leaders, Paga Eurosteel 2, were climbing the Tilbach Valley's eastern mountains. Philip Bass and Peter de Toy appeared comfortable and in control of their efforts. Bass has stage wins in 2019 and 2015 to his name already and was clearly chasing a third. Achieving that would be difficult as the group behind was beginning to up their tempo too. Canyon Northwave were leading the chase with Team Bulls on their wheels. Then came 91 Songo Specialized, Bulls 2, Buff Scott 1, Trek Borelli and Buff Scott 2. The Bone Trail was proving a stern test for the entire men's field. With a narrow single track forcing the riders into single file, the technical nature of the path was exacerbating matters by stretching the line to breaking point. Out front on their own, Phil Bass and Peter de Toy could climb at their own pace and had a free run at the descent which followed. The Paga Eurosteel 2 combination were thus building on their lead once more. They remained cognizant that they needed to make up time while the opportunity to do so was presenting itself, which led to de Toy in particular getting loose. On a bridge he slipped, crashing awkwardly and breaking his carbon handlebar. Having no injuries himself, de Toy tried his best to ride on, initially nursing the catastrophically cracked bar. Soon though he had to stop again, the end of his handlebars broken off entirely. He conducted rushed running repairs, moving his brake and gear shifters in. That bush mechanic repair was good enough to allow Paiga to get moving again, but Du Toit was hunched awkwardly on the bike, battling his unbalanced bars. Their lead having evaporated and turned to a deficit, Du Toit's day was saved by Paiga Eurosteel stablemate Matthijs Bierkes. Bierkes had been nursing a back injury since stage 1 and graciously gave up his bike in order for Du Toit to continue to race. With Paiga Eurosteel 2 out of contention for the stage victory, the main protagonists of the 2021 Absa Cape Epic raced on. A long bone trail descent provided them with chances aplenty to showcase their skills to the watching world, and to revel in the joy of riding such spectacular trails. It was not all fun and games, however. Scott 2 snapped a chain, putting them out of the running for stage honours too. Having completed a particularly frantic section of the day stage, the lead group settled back down once more, taking stock of their personal energy levels and looking for signs of weakness in the faces of their rivals. A flowing section of single track provided the brief opportunity for play, but ahead to the north, the Fanties Pass lay in wait. There would be no chances to take in the beauty around them. This was the business end of the stage. And the hardest climb of the 2021 Absa Cape Epic was about to decide who would be the day's winning team. In the women's race, the 91 Songo Specialized team seized the initiative when the route turned from smooth, wide roads to single track and rugged dual track. Sina Fry and Laura Stigger had repeatedly proved themselves to be the strongest climbers in the race. With the course heading uphill to the Bone Trail, the women in orange were soon putting the rest of the field under pressure. Initially, only the Salusmed team of Arjan Luthi and Robin de Groot could follow Fry and Stigger's acceleration, though the Land Rover ladies were also still in contention. Further back, Fairtree's Jenny Stenenhag and Amy McDougall, as well as Faces CST's Candice Still and Mariska Strauss, were fighting to remain in touch. They had a sizable task on their hands if they were to rejoin the leading group though, as the 91 Songo Specialized women were flowing through the Tilbach trails with graceful ease. Sadly, the same could not be said for Hayley Preen. The South African road champion crashed, fracturing her wrist and ending her race. Up front, the leaders charged on, continuing to showcase their mastery over the challenging African terrain. The speed at which Fry and Stigger were cornering put Robin de Groot in particular under pressure. The Salusmed rider repeatedly had to close small gaps, but managed to do so. This ensured that the top two teams reached the valley floor together. Behind, Faces CST were chasing hard, with Candice Lill driving Mariska Strauss back towards the front group. Strauss, with plasters to hide the wounds she'd suffered in 3 previous crashes, was gritting her teeth and digging deep. Her determination paid dividends, and the chasers made contact with the lead group with 20 kilometers left to race. Immediately, Strauss went to the front of the pack and took control of the pace, cognizant that Fanties Pass was fast approaching. Further back, Amy McDougall and Jenny Stenenhag were racing to climb the general classification podium. Computer Mania's misfortune had opened the door for Fairtree to move up into 4th, while Liv Lapierre were pursuing 5th. Having burnt matches to catch 91 Songo Specialized and Salusmed, Faces CST were unable to maintain the cadence of their rivals on the lower slopes of Fanties Pass. The feared climb was proving to be as decisive in the women's race as it had been in the men's. In the men's race, Fanties Pass was blowing the field apart. The first to drop off the pace were the BMC KTM team of Filippo Colombo and Yuri Zanotti. Ahead of them, the Bulls teams of Urs Huber and Simon Schneller, plus Martin Fry and Simon Steepjohn, along with the Buff Scott 2 team, were also feeling the pinch. Perhaps surprisingly, 91 Songo Specialized for the first time in the race were unable to match Canyon Northwave. Only the Italian Trek Pirelli outfit were able to climb with Andreas Seewald and Martin Stosek. The stunning Asachai Boss single-track descent allowed the risk-taking Samueli Poro and Fabian Rabensteiner to close the gap which they had been unable to stop from growing on the final 100 meters of the climb. Behind, Urs Huber led the chase, with Matt Beers and Jordan Saru looking tense on his wheel. The men in yellow are the better descenders, but were unable to pass and give effective chase. They could see the leading group ahead of them, but the tight switchbacks were deceptively foreshortening the distance 91 Songo Specialized and the Bulls teams had to close. especially with Trek Pirelli and Canyon Northwave climbing so strongly. Having summited the final kicker, the last 10 kilometres of the stage were all downhill. If the leaders needed any further motivation, the race village was just visible far below, spurring them to the finish line. With 3 teams behind to share the chasing duties, there was no time to jockey for positions on the gravel roads leading back to Saronsburg. It was full gas to the line. Rounding the bend onto the finish straight, Andreas Servold and Martin Storsek had done enough to celebrate their first Absa Cape Epic stage victory. The Canyon Northwave team were deserved winners, having animated the racing. Trek Pirelli crossed the line second and congratulated their rivals on a well-raced stage. Team Bulls won the sprint over the Bulls 2 for the final podium place. While the overall race leaders put in a last dig to keep their time losses to just 30 seconds.
Yeah, for us it's super important for us and also for the team because the stage win in the first epic we are doing right now, it's super nice and it means a lot for us. It cost us some energy, it was not easy at all, but yeah, when we did the decision to go, then we just went and luckily we did it to the finish. Yeah.
Unlucky we lost the fight for the stage, but you know, day by day we can improve. Also because I had a small technicals, so I lost a little bit of time. And yeah, second place is always a really good result for us. Yeah.
Canyon Northwave's winning time was 3 hours 41 minutes and 47 seconds. Trek Pirelli was second 2 seconds later. Team Bulls were 20 seconds back, while 91 Songo Specialized gave up 30 seconds to the stage winners. After 4 days of racing, Matt Beers and Jordan Saru lost their first significant chunk of time, but still hold the yellow jerseys. Andreas Servold and Martin Storsek reduced their deficit to 1 minute and 43 seconds. Team Bulls shaved 10 seconds off the leader's advantage too, and now lie at 3 minutes and 53 seconds back. The women's leaders were on Fanti's pass, and the 91 Songo Specialized team were exerting increasing pressure on Team Salusmed. Already Faces CST had been distanced on the lower slopes. Initially, only Ariane Luthi was able to follow Sina Fry and Lara Stigger. With Robin de Groot slipping back, Luthi was hanging tough for pride alone. It seemed inevitable that the elastic between her and the young race leaders would soon snap, leaving the Swiss-Austrian combination as solo leaders on the stage. But Luthi would not let that transpire without a fight. The battle for Candice Lill and Mariska Strauss was once again to limit their time losses, grinding up the ferociously steep gradients as best they could. Ahead, Fry and Stigger were pedaling with metronomic efficiency, the sharpest ramps in the ascent providing them as much of a challenge as the gentler lower slopes. Once over the summit, the pair charged into the Land Rover technical terrain. While they have proven to be the best climbers in the race, the 91 Songo Specialized team really come to life on the descents, their skills allowing them to effortlessly extend their lead. Ariane Luthi and Robin de Groot were under pressure to match the leaders' descending speed, but opted for a safer approach. This allowed Fry and Stigger to further grow their advantage and not unnecessarily tax themselves when the trails briefly pointed upwards again. They could then race ferociously downhill towards the finish once the climb was done. Riding below their thresholds on the uphills allowed them to stay fresh for the descents. This was not the case for Team Salusmed, who were trying desperately to recover their breath and time on the descents. 4 days, 4 stage wins. 91 Songo Specialized remain on course to match the performances of the woman whose large shoes they filled at Specialized Factory Racing, Annika Langville. Could they make a clean sweep of Absa Cape Epic stages? Salusmed looked the most likely team to interrupt the race leaders' run of stage victories as they notched up another second place. Faces CST rounded out the podium on the stage.
today it was super hot also. That was also a big challenge. And yeah, we had in the end like we could do again a gap on the climb and on the downhill, and in the last 10Ks we had a really good teamwork and could put a good pace on. And yeah, it's amazing to win another stage.
I'm actually not 100% sure. We were going like a little bit of a descent. It was quite loose. It was like a quite gravel loose on top. And Adelaide just slammed on her brakes for no reason. And that was it. So that's all she wrote. And then, yeah, basically a tumble. And then I think I created like a domino effect behind me. So sorry for everyone behind me. But yeah, it happens, I guess.
The 91 Songo Specialized team's winning time was 4 hours 34 minutes and 33 seconds. Salou Smed crossed the line 3 minutes and 43 seconds later, with Faces CST rounding out the podium places 6 minutes and 8 seconds down. Sina Fry and Laura Stigger's fourth successive stage victory saw them extend their lead to 11 minutes and 15 seconds over Ariane Luthi and Robin de Groot. Candice Lill and Mariska Strauss hold third, and the red Absa African jerseys 24 minutes and 19 seconds behind the women in the orange Assos jerseys. There was no change in the leads of the Virgin Active Mixed Dimension Data Masters or the Grand Masters categories. Powervena's young guns Laura and Sebastian Stark, Restonic's Craig Uriah and Andy Duvenage, as well as CST Postal NL Bafang's Bart Brenchens and Peter Vessel continue to lead their respective categories. The second transition day of the 2021 Absa Cape Epic Stage 4 featured a remote finish. Starting at Saronsburg near Tilbach, the 73-kilometre route finishes at Godini Spa in the Slanghoek Valley. Despite the short distance by the Untamed African mountain bike race standards, it still takes in 1,650 metres of climbing. The trails are rugged and challenging too. It all begins with a fast-paced start, however, until the challenges begin at the 18-kilometre mark. Rocky dual track and technical single tracks follow the Lemmitberg and Slanghoek mountain ranges, leading the race east. The day's Land Rover technical terrain comes in the final 15 kilometres on the Slanghoek trails.
Some of the trails we ride on were used by the fur trekkers back in the day. Hitler jersey leaders after a little stage work yesterday.